This is Saturday, May the 3rd, and you have entered overtime, where it's prom night in the city of Quincy, as evidenced by the sea of tuxedos, gowns, corsages, and boutonnieres seen all about town. In that theme tonight, the area's best college baseball and softball teams are similarly dolling themselves up this weekend in the hopes of making the right impression and scoring a postseason tournament invite. For the Quincy University Hawks, garnering a GLVC tournament berth was made a bit easier this weekend by a homestand, taking on Rockhurst today. Game number 2 of the Twin Bill, a pair of John Wood alums on the hill. That included Cody King, and it also included Josh Tolles, the Australian import right here from Rockhurst, off to the great start. He would be as opposed, as I said, by Cody King, who was absolutely brilliant in this game, keeping the Rockhurst bats silent and asleep the entire time. Top of the second, QU up 1-0 in this one. King in a bit of a jam, but check out Kenny May. Unbelievable show of range at shortstop. We'll slow it down for you to show it to you one more time. This, my friend, sensational 7-worthy on anybody's list. Great stab by May to take away extra bases and a run. But we're not done in the frame. The defense great behind the back. It's Gordon Gundiker, the catcher. It's pronounced Gordon, or whatever that stupid commercial is. Great gun out at second base to get the runner going, and then the offense comes to life for QU. Kenny May jumpstarts things. He's as hot as any Division II player on the planet right now with that bat, and that sets up Corey Wisdom. No park would have kept this ball in, not even Yellowstone or Yosemite. Great 2-run homer right there, gets it done, and from that point forward, Josh Tolles would pitch angry for Rockhurst. Just wasn't enough to quell the Quincy University bats or the great pitching effort from Cody King as QU gets it done in game number 2, pulling off the 5-0 victory over Rockhurst, and making it even better, Quincy University won the first game as well behind Jake Peterson, who has pitched phenomenally of late. QU wins that game 7-1. Peterson is now 6-0 in his last 7 starts with a 1.11 Ernie, winning 5 straight games. The kid hasn't lost a game since March the 15th. Impressive. QU and Rockhurst back at it again tomorrow. John Wood trying to keep things alive. Wild game in their twin bill today with Heartland. 10-6 game at this point. 2 aboard for Eldair Adamus, who's going to go with the RBI rip right here. 2-run single makes it 12-6. Then Heartland just starts throwing the ball away. A couple of different runs for John Wood come home to score. John Wood scored 9 in the first, had leads of as much as 9 at different points in this ball game, ended up having to rally back and win a thriller today. Final count this one in favor of John Wood, 19-17, which keeps John Wood on pace to make the conference tournament. However, they did themselves a disservice in the second game of the Twin Bill, getting shut out with Brock Best on the hill. 7-0 was your final on that one. John Wood 2 more tomorrow to try to sort things out and try to stay on pace to come back after all those suspensions, or all those forfeitures, I should say, after a player was dismissed this season for being ineligible. Kind of a tough break, but John Wood fighting the good fight as we speak. More for you now. How about Western Illinois at home in a wild game against Illinois State? Things tied up in 8th in the 6th when Adam McGinnis changes that. The RBI single through the middle scores Jake Moore. WIU up 9-8 at this point. ISU would tie it up in the 6th, but not for long. The pride of Carthage, Zach Burling, brings home a run right here to put the Leathernecks back up 10-9. Burling, however, tried to stretch this into a double. He was tagged out. Mr. Brownlee not at all pleased by that, unfortunately, but the drama was not done. The Redbirds coming back. They go up 12-10 in the 8th. 2 runs come around to score here. This game just back and forth with throughout. But here come the Leathernecks again. Chris Tashida right here going to step up and get things going back the right direction. Double deep right here to score 2. Tie this thing up at 12 apiece. We're set up in the 9th for walk-off time. And the Western Illinois Leathernecks would deliver in this one, courtesy of Peyton Jeffers, putting a man on third with a double. And then it's Neil DeCooks bringing him home in walk-off fashion. High drama today for the Leathernecks as Mr. DeCooks plays the hero down the stretch. 13-12. Western Illinois gets the win over Illinois State. Some other baseball to talk about tonight. Yeah, you can tell the Leathernecks pretty excited about that win today. Culver Stockton staying alive in the Heart of America Conference Tournament. It was Brock Hartheiser in game number 1, complete game shutout of Central Methodist to keep his team alive. And then, despite the fact they didn't hit the ball particularly well, Culver Stockton, in fact, scored 2 runs tonight without benefit of a hit early. They end up beating Evangel to stay alive still in the Heart of America Conference Tournament. 2-0, your final there as well. The news not so good on the softball side of things for Truman State. Ends up losing a heartbreaker today to William Jewell. 8-7 is your final. The Lady Bulldogs will now await word as to a possible at-large section to the NCAA 2004 Division II tournament, which will be announced on Monday. Meanwhile, the Leathernecks, regular season action for Western Illinois, a loss softball-wise to Omaha. 2-0 your final, as Western Illinois did not score a single run against Omaha this weekend. There you go. Western will be the 5 seed in the Summit League tournament. They'll take on IUPUI. Beardstown and Rushville doing the baseball thing today. We start with an objective lesson on where not to park your car at Rushville. That lady lucky to not get hit with that ball. Quick reflexes, though, by her getting into the car. Tigers already up 2-0. 2 aboard, 2 out for Rick Dorr, and he's going to punch home a little short left field single right here that ends up getting misplayed twice. Makes it a 4-0 lead in favor of the Tigers at that point. Beck Harris, ace of staff on the hill for Rushville, getting out of the jam right here as he quells that uprising, but not for long, as Rushville Industry had all kinds of problems keeping the Beardstown bats silent today. Rick Dorr pitching an absolute gem in game number 1, as it would be the Beardstown Tigers pulling off a lopsided upset against their arch rivals. 15-0 was your final in game number 1. Game number 2, well, it was a split for Rushville Industry as the Rockets bounce back. Cullen Bigland's team gets the victory in that one by the final count of 7-6. Monroe's visiting Illini West. Very special day today in tribute of the late Todd Porter, who passed away last week. His son Jackson throwing out the ceremonial first pitches to his brother Peyton. Great to see those young men doing so well. Obviously, great progeny of Todd Porter, who did a fantastic job at Illini West. Got a real interesting story we'll talk about a little later in this show about Todd coming up next week. First inning, Illini West gets on the board first in a pass ball with Braxton Squire at the plate. Nolan Ard comes home, makes it a 1-1 game. Third inning, sacrifice fly action would bring home Mr. Braxton Squire and put the Chargers up 3-1 in this one. 2 innings later, more to come from the Charger offense. This time, Nolan Ard plays 2 more runs with a single up the middle. Illini West lead is extended to 5-1 at that point. How about some more battage? We've got it from the Chargers in this game. Dalton Elliott about to add one with the RBI rip single coming up here, extending the Chargers lead out to 7-1. They absolutely demolished Monroe's in game number 1. 9-1 is your final. Colton Mellinger, all 7 innings pitched today, 6 strikeouts, as he does a nice job quelling the Monmouth Roseville bats. Second game, though, high drama, goes the other way against the Chargers. They have to settle for the split today as Monroe's gets that victory 4-3 in 10 innings. Stark County paying a visit to West Prairie today. 5th inning, West Prairie down 3-2. They get a little defense here from Ethan Peterson, who guns down the runner at third to end the inning. The offense, the problem in game number 1 today for West Prairie. Really couldn't get much going in game number 1, connected at least in this one. Down 7-3 at this point. There's a hit, but it really didn't amount to much as game number 1 went against West Prairie. They lose to Stark County 7-3. The much better news, though, the outstanding, heroic showing today at the plate and on the hill of Grant Bland. 19 strikeouts. Are you kidding me? 4-4 at the plate, a home run and 3 ribbies. You can't do much better than that by any standards. Grant Bland getting it done. Apparently, we picked the wrong game to show up for, but we'll make it up to you, Grant, somewhere along the line. I do promise you. Also on the docket today, what a day for the Quincy Blue Devil baseball team. Going on the road, hostile climbs, and getting a sweep of Rock Island. 9-4 in the first game as Andrew Eilers gets the win there. And then it was Ben Merrow delivering a solo home run in support of Drake Green, who went the distance. Maybe his best pitching effort of the season so far as Quincy High School shuts down Rock Island to get that sweep. 4-2 was your final. Big day for Brigham John and company. Good showing there. South Fulton today takes out Bushnell Prairie City. There's a team you need to look out for. Great pitching. 2 of them outstanding pitchers for South Fulton as they shut out Bushnell 7-0, and in the second game 16-0. Pittsfield goes on the road and pulls off a sweep in Winchester. 12-8 your final in the first game and 8-6 in the second as the Saukees climb back above the 500 mark for the season. Also over in Missouri today, it was Highland, and man, the Cougars are struggling right now, losing to Monroe City 10-0. Scott Hoover, the hero from Monroe City in that game. Mark Twain, a winner over Highland 12-7. Was your final in that one as well. And we're just getting warmed up here on Overtime. We've got a huge soccer showdown and big weekend for Quincy Notre Dame coming up, plus many other goodies when Overtime continues.
You're watching KHQA Overtime with Chris Dewar. Brought to you by Con Communications.
And welcome back to Overtime, everybody. It has been a busy and productive week for the Quincy Notre Dame soccer squad, which extended its streak of dominance over crosstown rival Quincy High to 33 games. What better way to add insult to injury than by winning the Blue Devils' own tournament to boot for the Lady Raiders? Mark Longo's team opened this Saturday just 2 wins away from accomplishing that very goal, albeit against very tough competition. 8:30 game this morning started with Rich Woods, and it started right here. Cassidy Foley does a great job running the defender off, and that sets up her sister Mackenzie Foley, who's going to come free and knock in the right footer across the mouth of the goal to make it 1-0 Raiders. They're not done in the first half. Waning minutes at the first half, it was the Sarah Arnold show. She's going to do great work to get this ball into the box. I don't know if Mackenzie Foley was onside or not, but they didn't rule it, so she was. Great one-timer from her. One of 3 goals she had on the day as Quincy Notre Dame dispatches with Rich Woods. As you take one more look at this goal in slow motion, pretty goal. QD gets that win, 4-0 your final. Again, Mackenzie Foley showing out. Young freshman knocking home this pretty goal right here. And maybe she was onside. Who knows? Not for me to judge. Goal counts. 4-0 was the victory. Unfortunately, for the Lady Raiders, they drop a rare game to Edwardsville, who's phenomenal, by the way. 2-1 was your final. Tightly contested game this afternoon, but QD suffers its second loss of the season. 2-1 is the way that would end up. Also on the docket today, soccer. Great showing by the Bloodhounds up in Kelowna today. A pair of wins, and Braxton Williams was at his scoring best in this game. Hat trick against Fairfield in the first matchup, which Fort Madison won 4-3. And in the second, Braxton Williams adds 2 more goals, both of them, as Fort Madison ends up beating Iowa Mennonite. 2-1 was your final there. Also need to talk a little tennis today, as Quincy High School continued a very nice weekend down in Belleville at the Southern Illinois Duels, winning 3 of their 4 head-to-head matchups. Today, sweeping Jerseyville and St. Thomas More. Particularly good win against St. Thomas More, which the Blue Devils took care of. 7-2 was your final. Let's do a little softball now. Brown County girls taking on Peoria. This doesn't look like much from Megan Winston, the simple pop-up, but it falls in against Peoria, and the floodgates would open. Miss Winston standing on second base at this point. That sets up Kia Mormon, who I'm told's code name here is Kiki. I read that on their roster today for some reason. The RBI single to right, scores one huge first inning, made huger right here by Maddie Beisman. Going to hit the 3-run jack over the center field fence. That's a fun home run. I believe it's the first of her varsity career. At least that's what I heard said by some of the girls today, and she can flat swing the bat. Brown County jumped out 8-0 in the first inning in this game and never looked back. Peoria, boy, they were overmatched and not very good. They got destroyed today by Brown County. 17-0 was your final in that game. How about Illini West taking on Western at Western today? IW trying to sweep a twin bill and Barry. The defense helps. Josie Finch was channeling her innie Manny Machado at third base right there. Beautiful stab by her, but Miss Finch isn't done quite yet. Yeah, she gets a hand slap for that one. How about this? Great protection of the line, grabbing one before it was curling foul. Good stuff from her. Western's defense, though, also flashing the leather in this one. Check out Julia Grammer out in center field, pulling off the rare 8-4 double play on the fantastic stab. That might be sensational 7-worthy as well. But unfortunately, her team had some struggle mounting any kind of offense today in either game. Elise Trout flat dealing in this one after giving up a couple of runs early. She gets the strikeout there. Not a lot of clean runs in this ballgame. Josie Finch smashes one through second. That scores a run later. Elise Trout smashing one to third. That's misplayed not very well, and that scores another run. It was kind of that kind of day for Illini West offensively, that kind of day for Western's defense, as it would be Illini West pulling off the victory in game number 2, 10-3, which is a very similar score to what they did in game number 1, as the Chargers would win that one by the final count of 10-2. Also on the scoreboard today, Brown County made it a clean sweep over in Rushville, beating Rushville Industry 9-7. Quincy Notre Dame goes on the road, pulls off a couple of very nice wins over Alton Marquette. Jenny Pollock with a big day at the plate in a 10-3 victory in game number 1. Game number 2, no surprise here. It was the Ashley Wensing show as she doled out another no-hitter. Boy, she's kind of just in a really nice pitching groove right now as Q&D shuts down Marquette, pulls off that victory by the final count of 6-0 there. Let's talk about your Con Communication Connection, your third for the month of April/May, as we are right now, and it is a pretty one in the rivalry game between Keokuk and Fort Madison. This took place on Thursday, and this is an absolute gem. The first of three from A.J. Swan, who ended up with a hat trick, as I mentioned. Just an absolute beautiful goal right there, a well-made goal. A.J. Swan and Keokuk surging. Congratulations to him, our third nominee for the month of April/May. This is our last month, by the way, at Con Communication Connection, your last chance to vote. So your finalists, as we stand right now, include Brittany Douglas from West Hancock Track, who had the great come-from-behind victory at in the 4x100 meter in the girls' side of things, as she ended up running past Camp Point Central and snaring a victory for her team. Also, Kendra Gengenbacher from last week from Quincy Notre Dame, who had a grand slam, and now A.J. Swan. Three awfully darn good ones. Hey, we don't get to talk a lot of bass fishing here on the Overtime Show. We're going to do so tonight. Congratulations to Western Illinois' team of Joe Riley, a Macomb native, and Jackson Grable, we'll hope that's right, Jackson Grable, who posted a top 14 finish at the NCAA Regional, which means those two gentlemen have qualified to be one of 73 teams competing in the 2014 Carhartt Bassmaster College National Championship, which is in late July, early August in Northeast Georgia. The two brought in a total catch for 2 days of 23 pounds and 3 ounces. Also, I need to mention that Caleb Shoemaker and Sam Wheeler, both of Blandonsville, finished 30th. They don't qualify for that event, but over the weekend, those two teams, Riley and Grable and Shoemaker and Wheeler, qualify for the Fishing League Worldwide Invitational set for Kentucky Lake in Kentucky. That comes up in September, so congratulations to those gentlemen as well. Hey, we've got a lot more overtime coming up, including big news right here. Let's talk some college basketball. J.D. Gravina continues to infuse local influence into his Western Illinois women's basketball program, and in so doing this season, might well have appeased his mother-in-law along the way. I'll explain in a second. Former South Shelby star Jenna Mueller, who you see here, who played 3 years at St. Louis University, is transferring to finish her career with the Leathernecks. The 6'2" pivot did not play this past season and is thusly, and she's graduated by the way, thusly immediately eligible in Macomb, and she will have 1 full season left of eligibility. Jenna averaged 9 minutes a game for the Lady Bills in 2012 and 2013 and shot 53% from the floor. Jenna, by the way, played her high school basketball for Millie Rash at South Shelby, who is J.D. Gravina's mother-in-law. There's where the story all comes together. And we've got more overtime for you coming up after this. Well, this has been a very busy week of Tri-State sports. Next week blows it out of the water, starting on Monday with district golf in Missouri. There's a very good possibility we could finally have some resolution on the Quincy High coaching front, maybe as early as Friday. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, we're working on a very special story for you coming up on Thursday on the life of Todd Porter. Now, a lot of people know he was a great baseball coach at Illini West, one of the most affable men in this business you'd ever meet, and somebody I've been honored to know for 20 years. But what you might not know is that Todd is also a man who battled his share of personal demons every day of his life, demons that ultimately would cost him his life. His family has very graciously agreed to let us sit down and let you know the real Todd Porter and what he went through to get where he did and how ultimately those demons took away everything that mattered most to him. And we're hoping this is a very poignant story that maybe helps some people out there. So that's coming up for you on Thursday night. Again, very, very busy week of sports. It starts tomorrow with my man Will Wilson, all your Dogwood Bowl highlights, and a big day for Quincy University and John Wood baseball coming up tomorrow right here. Again, we'll see you next weekend right here on Overtime at 10:30.